guys.
Alright guys, well, happy Mother's Day. It is Sunday and it's a new episode of Nohu Live. We're at the Parker Cafe enjoying our yummy cappuccino, and he's having a chai latte. We have a special guest today, Zoraida. We've been friends since we were teenagers, and she's a very interesting person. She's got awesome stories to tell, and she's been a Nohu resident for a big portion of her life, even though she's actually been moving around into different places. So we're definitely going to get to those stories. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I basically grew up in West New York. Now I'm living in North Bergen. In between, in the year 2007 till about late 2016, I ended up moving to Puerto Rico, and I lived there for almost 10 years.
Awesome, Puerto Rico. So my partner's from Puerto Rico. I've been to Puerto Rico every year. It's a fucking awesome place. So we have a lot of people from Puerto Rico in the area. And it's one of the big Caribbean places where a lot of people from Nohu are from. So yes, a lot of Cubans, a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of Dominicans, and it's a really special place. We love it. Right now the island is in crisis, and unfortunately a lot of people are having to move back here to the United States somewhere. So a lot of people are going to Texas. People are going, they call it the Puerto Rican diaspora. So it's very interesting because Puerto Ricans are very similar to, this might sound controversial, but very similar to like the Jewish diaspora, but they're not being forced out. They're being forced out because of economics, not because of their identity. But because they have such a diaspora, there's Puerto Rican influence in like all over the world, like all over the country in the United States. But particularly here where we're from in Nohu, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans, and in Florida too, in Orlando.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Zoraida is a mom, and she's a mom to be again.
Second time.
And we wanted to bring her to the episode because we wanted to talk to her about Mother's Day. We wanted to, not just Mother's Day, but because of Mother's Day, we wanted to talk to her about what it's like to be a mother here in Nohu, in North Hudson. So tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a mom here in Nohu and why you decided to raise your children here. Because I know from knowing a lot of moms that they're very particular about where they want to raise their children. So if you raise your children here, it really means something.
Right. Yeah, so actually I came back to New Jersey, and particularly the North Hudson area and North Bergen, because that's where I grew up. And so I grew up in West New York, but had a lot of fun play dates and fun days with my cousins and my sister in North Bergen. My aunt had a beautiful big backyard. We had a flower garden. We had great neighbors. We did a lot of fun things as kids. And I just remember coming to school here and just seeing like the diversity of children, like from Hispanics to not Hispanics to every single part of the world existed here. And I felt that coming back here, I'll be able to give that to my daughter, and that's what I wanted to do for her.
That's beautiful. That's great.
How have you seen the neighborhood changing throughout the years? So basically, before you left to Puerto Rico, how was it? Then you spent 10 years there. Then you came back. Do you see the neighborhood changing? I obviously we see the neighborhood changing, but I want to get your perspective because there's a lot of people who feel like the area is becoming gentrified. It's becoming very expensive. So tell us a little bit of how you see the neighborhood changing, and if it's a good or bad thing.
Well, it definitely has changed. It's not particularly a bad thing at all, but it's not also exactly what I saw growing up. Just as an example, you could see River Road starting from 60th Street all the way down, and then obviously from 60th Street all the way down the other way towards Weehawken and Hoboken. And you can see how there have been so many different structures going up, but at the same time you're able to see the parks and how they have become even more beautiful. I remember a lot of the parks used to be kind of run down and a little bit abandoned, but we did get to play in them and have fun too as kids. They were awesome at that time.
Yeah, when you're a kid, you should just make the best out of anything.
It doesn't matter.
You didn't need it crazy as much.
Now it's all fancy, you got the rubber floors, kids don't really get hurt anymore.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I didn't know that is one of the first things that I started noticing because I lived on 65th. And man, 60. You know where St. Mary's Church is on 65th? There's like a church, and then there across the street there's a park. That park used to be so ugly, but I played in it and had a great time. And then recently I passed by and it's like completely different. Like it has water features and the rubber floors. And
There's so many kids in the neighborhood. They have to update the playgrounds.
right?
Yeah.
But then I started seeing all the other playgrounds, like on 61st Street. Damn, I hate that I can't remember the cross streets, but basically
I know,
all
we
the
should get a map
parks.
and really
Yes.
learn.
Yeah, it's such a great observation. I have noticed that the parks are getting upgraded and becoming like having more features for kids. So it's almost like the towns are setting up the areas for families to move in.
Right.
Because if they didn't want, like, if they wanted just young professionals to move in, you know, they wouldn't. They would just, you know, they would not work on those parks. But they're working on the parks. It makes you think that that's probably one of the purposes.
I agree, and I also see that because they're like that, it is making it safer for the children, and also safer for us to go and take a little walk in the park in the evening and not feel like it looks ugly or like there's a bunch of graffiti everywhere. Because when we were kids, there was a lot of graffiti all over the slides. Every single slide had graffiti, and now everything just looks cleaner, which is really nice.
And it's
you know.
safe, right?
It's nice
That's
to
a
see
big part
that,
of it.
yeah.
I think so. We got the aesthetics,
Mhm.
right? Now let's talk about the interactions that you're seeing with kids. You know, do you feel like kids nowadays, right? Kids nowadays, you know, what do you think they're going through, or what are you seeing from a development standpoint? You know, you have a young daughter. Like, how do you feel about her and her friends interacting?
Yeah.
And where I'm coming from on this is nowadays I feel like my younger sister, seeing her grow up, a lot of kids are they're into different things than I was. You know,
Right.
I was happy with the basketball. Now we play our games while we're with each other. We're doing different things, but are we still getting that same experience? You know, how do you feel as a mom?
And with technology, like specifically with technology, how are kids different? Like the way that we grew up and the way that kids are growing up now. Because one thing I have noticed with children is how insanely smart they are at earlier and earlier ages. Like how much information they know because they're able to Google everything. They don't need to even ask
Right.
adults anything.
And I want to just say, a lot of people they come at this with like a negative connotation, like all the technology, but there's positives to it as well. They have you have to respect both sides of the spectrum. So I'm just curious as a mom, like how do you look at this change that's happened in like a blink of an eye almost?
Well, when it comes to technology, I don't see it as a terrible thing, but I do, actually I was just talking to my daughter about this yesterday. I was saying, hey, what about if you pick a topic, something that you want to learn about, and we can go to the library this week, and we'll look up all the information on an encyclopedia, and we'll just pull out books and we'll read, because that's the way I used to do it when I was a kid. And she's like, okay, so I don't know what the topic is going to be yet, but we're discussing this.
So reintroducing the things that you used to do to spend time is another good way to spend
Yeah, so
time.
that's what I do with her. So like when she asks me a question about something, it's like, oh, and I don't know, I'm like, you know what, let's Google it real quick. We'll Google it and then we'll talk about it. And if we can get to the library or just talk to a family member about it, we do. So that's how she gathers her information.
That's very interesting.
The application, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're respecting the technology, but then there's an application, right? That comes
And
after.
I want her to
That's
have
awesome.
that ability to be able to go into a book, go to the library, and do that research too. Because what if one day we just don't have that same access for whatever reason? So I want her to be able to know how to do
the
both.
information is undependable. Like you have Wikipedia now, and a lot of kids are getting their information from Wikipedia, and it's like it's a live encyclopedia. So people they're changing things. We could have revisionist history out there. We don't know if that content is really reliable. There's nothing like a solid printed book that has a publisher and an editor that is responsible for that content.
Well, I'll disagree to an extent there. I actually love Wikipedia's
I do too.
mission.
Don't get me wrong.
I love Wikipedia's
Yeah.
mission.
I do
So
too.
Wikipedia started out knowing that the quality of their information was going to be unreliable, but they were just a volume, right? Like they were trying to encyclopedize everything, which is quite a task.
Including people.
But over time, you look at that, and now there's some really reputable people contributing and editing and refining it. So over the course of time, we've corrected the Wikipedia articles and movement. So I'm at a crossroads there. For new hot information, you don't know about the reliability, but over time, it's like I respect what they're doing.
I know. I totally love Wikipedia. So when I said that, I wasn't hating on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But now that we're on that topic, I think it's very interesting because when I moved here, when I bought my house, because I've lived here my whole life, but when Tony and I bought our house, I was doing a lot of research on North Bergen because that's where we bought our house, and I went on Wikipedia, and honestly, there's like barely any information, and we have such a rich culture here in this neighborhood. And there's almost nothing on there. There's just nobody writing about North Bergen. And I looked up West New York, same problem. I looked up Union City. I looked up all of these North Hudson towns, and there just isn't that volume of information. But if you look up Jersey City and you look up Hoboken, of course Hoboken because of Frank Sinatra, Jersey City because it's such a large, diverse city and it's humongous and one of the biggest in New Jersey.
We have to keep looking though.
Yeah,
we have to keep looking and keep having these conversations with
but
people.
it's hard to find. Like if you go online and you try to find information on this area, it's like little bits and pieces scattered throughout the internet. There isn't like one place where it collectively lives.
And people haven't popularized certain aspects of what we do now.
And
You know,
also,
we need to bring that attention here and
Yeah, and I
create
think
it.
as we bring on more guests, I think we might be
Create
surprised. I mean, we might meet people who have been living here for a very long time who tell us a story that we've been waiting for, that we've been looking for.
That we need to document too,
Absolutely.
because that's another thing. Like these stories need to get documented. Nohu's such an interesting place, and the stories just aren't getting told. And if they are, I mean, I can't find them. I don't know where these stories are. And I think that was part of what our mission was with Nohu Collective, is basically giving the area. It's not trying to rename or create a new identity. It's taking the existing identity and we're celebrating these towns that are part of North Hudson, so that we can start putting ourselves on the map.
We're all the old
culturally.
We're all the old school Guanos and
Unfortunately,
Italianos.
we've got one more.
Yes.
That's where
where most of the history is.
that were
for
they
sure.
were here for a very long
Ooh.
time. All the Cuban and the Italian.
All the Cubans
people.
and the Italians, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We're all the.
But
we're
the
all
Puerto
the,
Ricans too, they've been here.
Yeah.
That diaspora has been here, that has been going on for a long time. Even before the Cubans came here, Puerto Ricans have had this diaspora.
When I first
And the
lived
Jews
here,
too.
when
There's
I
a lot
first
of Jewish people
now
in the area too.
a lot, yeah, definitely by Bergen. I see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Arabs, like especially in North Bergen, like there's a humongous like Arab what is it called, mosque.
When I first came here, everyone was Cuban or Italian. The teachers were Cuban, my friends were Cuban or Italian. It was just, I feel like that's like what held down the town. And then I left for a while and I came back like you. But you came back from Puerto Rico, correct?
Yeah, I came back from Puerto
Right,
Rico.
and there was something about North Bergen that I don't know, there's a part of me that was always here. I was really sad when I left, and I never thought I would
Isn't that
come
interesting?
back.
Because like when you're here, you're like, oh, this place is
I
wherever.
love this
But the
place.
minute that you leave, you just miss it so much.
Yeah.
Because there is just something interesting and like magical about our area. And especially like in the springtime is when you really start to see it, because everything starts, all the flowers starts coming out, people's gardens, people are on the street, and you see like the true diversity and rich social capital that we have here.
So
Yeah,
what's your favorite part about coming back to the area?
Yeah, tell us.
Just coming back, just the fact that I have my whole family here, you know, and where we could be together. I have a huge family. My family is Cuban, and it's just a whole bunch of us. It's like at least 100 of us.
Oh wow.
And then just having us together and being able to just reunite with them and just see the town
And what do you guys like to do?
Yeah, what do you
in the
guys
area?
like there? Are there favorite places?
Go to the house and have coffee.
Yeah.
Go to my mom's house and have, that's like our thing. Like, oh, maybe tomate un cafecito.
And everybody lives close by too.
Yeah,
That's
everybody's
the thing.
close, and just like hang out, like probably go to the park and just have the kids
Pastelitos.
play and
They
talk.
have pastelitos.
Because one of the interesting parts about like our area,
Yeah, really good.
one of the interesting parts about our area is very similar to Manhattan. It's just one big grid. Like all of North Hudson is just one big grid. So so it's easy to just go get on one main avenue like Bergen Line or Kennedy Boulevard or Boulevard East, and we have these like main arteries that you can just like, okay, now I'm gonna find my relative on 65th Street, and then someone lives on 26th Street, and someone lives on 80-something Street, but it's one big artery that connects all of these little towns. And because these arteries, like it's from several arteries, it's like there's no threshold. There's no visible threshold that makes you think, aha, I'm in West New York now, or aha, I'm in Union City.
just
Like
feels like
it's
one
the
big
identity.
place.
I
It's
kind of
one
want to
big
draw it
place.
out on a map just to see what it looks like. I want to know like what parts extend
North
to
Bergen
what.
is like one big
It's
arm that
crazy.
goes like this.
Yeah, I want to create the shape.
Yeah.
Converted.
Yeah.
It's like L.
Yeah,
It
North
doesn't
Bergen's
L?
like one big L.
Yeah, inverted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even doing that, and like you say, like, walking through these streets and, maybe stopping for a little coffee here or getting a little bread and butter over there, and then you might talk to like a little old man or a little
In
old lady.
Spanish. Like,
Yeah.
that's so exciting, right? That you just keep running into like all these
And
little
they'll just
Latino
talk
places.
to you about their life, and maybe they might be lonely and they just want to have a nice conversation with somebody, even though you were not expecting it. But then you find yourself 20 to 30 minutes having a conversation with them about whatever
Oh,
it
you,
is.
because you're like
you know.
especially friendly. Like, Zoraida's like such a friendly, like, she can make friends with anybody.
With anybody.
That's really cool that you bring that up. So a common theme of what we talk about here is engaging local businesses and talking about that aspect of the community as well as the social. So what do you love most about your local businesses? You know, you mentioned buying bread, things like that. You know, what else do you like to go to the community for?
And compared, like, for example, to Vieques, because we were in the car, Zori and us, we talked about how few businesses there were in Puerto Rico. So tell us, like, how it feels like to have this amount of diversity of businesses here and to engage with them.
Well, that's what I love about this area is that because I always had my little routine in Vieques, you know, like I would say, okay, I'm gonna go to work. I always liked being out of the house at least half an hour before I have to be at work so that I can go get a cup of coffee or get a little bread and butter, just so that I can do that. I enjoy that, even if it's going to Dunkin' Donuts, I mean, really, and it's just going in and saying hello, good morning, seeing same faces, and taking that time for myself. I enjoy it. I love watching people, maybe because I grew up in this area. So if there is a little spot where I can sit outside, and I don't even have to eat in the cafeteria or in the little place. I would sometimes buy my coffee and go and sit on a bench or like on a little like sidewalk or something and just chill. And yeah, I might totally look like a bum doing it, but I love it, you know, and it's just watching people walk by and seeing the moms and dads walking or like just a little old man and lady walking by and just seeing that, and I enjoy that, I really do.
So you mentioned that you also have, you had a conversation with people in the community in Vieques. I mean, you were called Vieques Peeps.
Yeah, so
Can you tell us more about that?
Vieques Peeps was a Facebook group that was created. It's a private group. So basically with that group, it was just what's going on in town, like what's happening here, what are they building over there, you know, who's who, and you get to really learn about the community.
I like that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's really great.
and it just made it easy, like what's closed, is the ferry working, is the ferry not working, so it helps you prepare for your day, for your week.
Sounds like they need next door.
So it was, yes, and that was like my next door, so when I found next door here, I was like,
By the
oh
way,
my
next
God.
door is the app that we talked about in our last episode.
We
It's
might
great.
mention it in every episode.
I know.
It's a great
such a
app.
great
It
app.
is. And when I found it, it was actually right before you joined. And when I saw you join, I was like, oh my God, Roger's here.
I
And
know, that's how I
we
felt when I
reconnected.
saw Zoraida. I was like, what? She's in my area? Because it only connects you with people who are literally your neighbors.
Yeah.
You cannot, if you're in the town next door, you're not going to connect with them. They're not
Yeah.
going to show up on your feed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we would connect
No,
on the
and we live in the same
And we
town,
still
but
live
she
in
would
the
not
same
show
town.
up.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You only get your immediate neighborhood.
Yeah, so that's what we did in Vieques through Facebook. We had a little group called Vieques Peeps, and whoever wanted to be part of that small community was part of it.
That's great.
You know, we would sell things just like next door. You know, we could sell, you could give things away, whatever's going on. Invite people to cool events, like you know, like things that are happening, like you know, like the 5K that you guys ran yesterday.
Oh my
Waking
God.
up when-
Yeah, we did a 5K yesterday.
Guys, it was
That's
amazing.
why we're a little bit tired, but
Yes, I
we
know. I'm
were
trying to keep
amazing.
it together, my body.
It was
My knees
raining,
are
it was
burning.
pouring. Like, we're running in the cold rain. It was fun.
But yeah,
That was like my favorite part about
Yeah.
the run.
But that's what we that's what it was. You know, it was a little an app, a group so we can connect with the community, and that's how the community connected. And actually, through that group, when the hurricane did go through, they were able to create a GoFundMe page called Vieques Love, and they were able to raise a lot of money to be able to start, you know, focusing on rebuilding the businesses because Puerto Rico really depends on tourism. So if the businesses and the things that they depend on are not working, then they can't help the rest of the community.
Right.
There was a huge like solar movement in the wake of what just happened, right? A little
I know
bit?
they're talking about it. I don't know too much information because there's just so much information about everything that's happening after the hurricane. So there's a lot of people that are really upset, and sometimes I try to like stay away from it just because I get upset too, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
But there have been been a lot of talk about that,
Gotcha.
and especially in Vegas for sure.
Yeah, I actually really think that that's the one thing that this community is missing is a true understanding of sustainability and ecology, because we, right now in North Bergen, they're proposing this gas-fired power plant, and it's not just gas-powered, it's natural gas that's been fracked, that then comes here. So we're promoting and increasing this dependency on fossil fuels and fracking.
Wow.
And I brought it up on Nextdoor. I was like, guys, I just got an alert that there's a new gas-powered plant, and I put it on Nextdoor, and then all these public officials from North Bergen started commenting, yeah, well, we're gonna get all this increased tax revenue, and don't worry about it, it's miles away from the closest residents.
Wow, they responded.
And they're like, we're gonna create tons of jobs. Okay, we netted out when we actually fact checked everything that they claimed, that the plant that they're trying to build is actually less than a mile away from the nearest house. It does cause an enormous amount of pollution and toxic pollution that then rains down on us. It's only creating like 30-something permanent jobs, and the tax benefits are completely like undisclosed. Like we don't know what the tax benefits are. We don't know where those taxes are being appropriated. We don't know where the kickbacks are, if there are kickbacks that are happening as a result of this plant. And now there are environmental organizations that are fighting against it.
But if we're looking at workforce development and we're saying we're creating jobs, do we really want to be creating these jobs?
No,
like,
absolutely
these
not.
are jobs of the past,
Yeah.
right?
People
As
keep
opposed
using that term.
like the word jobs like,
It's,
is kind of like dangling candy in front of a baby.
It's
like
a talking point.
people want jobs,
It's like,
sure,
right.
but let's talk
And
about
taxes.
the
People want
right
lower
jobs.
taxes.
It's like throwing around the word libtard without having a full conversation about what it is that you mean by your views.
I think
Right.
that just being one example. I mean, I'm a huge Musk and his family. They're like
Elon Musk.
I love what they do and,
Yeah.
and the way they kind of stake their claim and bring
They're
the
putting
market.
their money where their money where their mouth
Exactly,
is, right?
and they bring
They're
the
not just
market
talking about
to them.
sustainability.
Right, so everyone sees Musk, but his brother is actually in Brooklyn, and he's doing sustainable farming and urban farming, right? And that is something we don't talk about as much, but pollution is driving our agriculture, and it's hurting the amount of water that we use, and there are tons of ramifications.
Absolutely.
Talking about creating those jobs that we're going to need in 10 years, 20 years, I'd rather do that than talk about
That's a better
Absolutely.
conversation to have. That's definitely the conversation.
And this is where I think like moms and families can come in, because like we can start by just taking public schools, public buildings, and making them run on solar panels and wind energy and new, more sustainable forms of energy. We can start building more windmills or in public parks. I mean, there's so many like short-term steps that we can take. We can work with the governor to try to get more solar rebates for people in this neighborhood to put solar panels on their house and for it to be worth it for them.
Roger,
That's
maybe...
my problem. I'm sorry.
No, please.
Well, that's my problem with politicians in general. It's very binary for them.
Yeah.
Does this help the bottom line, or as opposed to thinking of the dynamics that involve everybody and having the foresight where a sacrifice now, and sure, let's not open the coal plant and have less jobs, but think about researching some of these new technologies. You know, you're looking at short-term gains versus long-term gains.
Yeah.
And I don't like politicians because I think they play the short term more often than not.
And you know the worst thing
they'll probably get some attention and they'll catch wind of this and be like, no, we're tax revenues coming in.
Though.
Like,
it's all connected.
pop off.
I was gonna say to you, why don't you mention, or why don't we do something, bring it up with the gardening project?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Zora's very excited about that. We're definitely working on a garden project. And yes, for sure, the garden project is going to be a great forum to discuss sustainability and environmentalism, especially for children. Actually, one of the things that I really want the community garden to be is a place where families can come and teach their children about sustainability, teach them to get their hands dirty and to plant seeds and how seeds work and how plants work and how ecosystems work and why bees are important and taking care of bees, and like really it just opens up so many things. But it's also a great resource for elderly too to come and do something on their free time.
I don't know if you guys know this about Roger, but he's has an amazing garden in his backyard. Him
Thank
and
you.
Tony know
Garden.
about
That's
it.
my favorite thing about owning a house now is having green space that I can
You
work
should
on.
share. I feel like you
Yeah.
could even invite some kids in the community. You should totally do that
Why
and
not?
share with them how passionate you are about
Mhm.
what you do and what you've created in your backyard.
Yeah, totally. But I want, like, going back to the mom thing, like, I really want parents, like, I know Zora, you're like a super active person. Like, I would like to see you go back and propose these things, you know, with other parents in the schools. Like, get these schools to have a stronger environmental program to teach kids about sustainability. Because I know that when I was growing up in West New York, all my schools in West New York, either I had super liberal environmental hippie teachers, or I don't know, I was born at the right time because I was just always raised with like reduce, reuse, recycle.
And
like,
high tech.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the best schools in the world, you know, but we do have amazing schools that do teach about environmental and sustainability because the kids, like Tony's nephews and niece that just came here from Puerto Rico, they've been living with us for almost a year, and they come home and they're like, hey, do you know the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and they know about like the environment, they know like everything about the earth, and I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we should be teaching our
I think
kids.
that needs to become a baseline now, right? Because now
Because now we're in crisis.
In crisis mode and serious advancements, and I want to give a quick shout out to another community that I think is doing it right. Excuse me. So I'm on the board for Villanova Alumni Group, and we just did a partnership with Harlem Grown, and they have a really awesome program where it's all community gardens out there. They allow people to come and grab food that maybe don't have it available. And one of the things that struck me is the founder there, he doesn't just want people to give money. He wants you to bring your team and donate your time and be a part of it and learn what they're doing. And I love that. I think
That's really cool.
the teaching aspect and the engagement is more important than just the money.
Absolutely, that's when knowledge is the most powerful. I mean, you're passing what you know.
And you're buying into what's going forth with the movement. So shout out to them.
That's great.
I think we're getting a little
Yes, I was
close
going
to
to ask you,
time.
I know we're running out of time, but before we go, I want Zori, one of the reasons why I wanted to invite her is because she's an amazing mom, number one, so she has a lot to say. But I want you to talk about, because you were talking about giving back, she's starting a new organization called the Missing Gloves Campaign. I want you to tell me a little bit about that because I was super inspired by how you started this whole project and how long you've been thinking about it. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I got back in 2016 October, and I think it was 2017 February, that my sister and I, Tavi, we were at my mom's, and one of us had a mismatched glove. You know, we looked crazy. It was super cold out. My mom's like, oh my God, you girls, you're always looking crazy. You never match, and we're like, who cares? Still serves a purpose. And my sister's like, yeah, how many gloves I always see every day, people lose them,
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like on the way to work, I always see them. So we left it at that. And as I was going to work that day, I actually saw a glove at a bus stop. So I was like, oh, that's so funny. I took a picture of it, wanted to send it to my sister. And then I texted her and I said, hey, what about if we start actually collecting them? And then we could wash them, and by the next year, we can donate all these mismatched gloves, but they'll still have gloves. She's like, great. Well, we kind of left it at that. We didn't do much. We took a couple of pictures. But this year, in February, I'm like, instead of collecting them, let's just take pictures, raise awareness, hashtag missing gloves for the homeless, so that everyone that sees a glove can just take a picture and hashtag it. And then with Missing Gloves campaign, what we'll do is we'll donate a brand new pair of gloves to our local homeless shelter.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you did it recently, right? Where you went to the Hoboken Homeless
Yeah,
Shelter?
I went to the Hoboken Homeless Shelter. We actually donated gloves that were donated to me by Robert Fulton Elementary, where my daughter goes to school. So they had a huge bin with gloves, scarves, hats. We donated mostly hats and scarves because all the gloves were very mismatched and they were very small. But at least the hats, they were actually adult sizes, and scarves, really nice ones too. Some were like Michael Kors, and I'm like, why are these kids wearing this stuff?
Yeah, and people, you'd be surprised, like these homeless shelters, what they really need more than anything are these essential things like winter gear, socks are really important. I know because I've volunteered before for homeless shelters. And blankets, sanitary napkins for women are really important. They're always running low on those. And so I'm so glad that you're doing that, and I really want more people to know about it. So again, her campaign is hashtag missing gloves
for the homeless.
Missing gloves for the homeless.
Yeah.
We put a page for her on nohucollective.com to raise awareness for her as well, and we wish her the best. I really hope that you keep going with this mission because it's a really valuable mission.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm working on it. I hope that by September, October, we're gonna probably donate about anywhere from 100 to 150 brand new pairs of gloves. So
Awesome.
Based on all the ones we found already.
All right. Well, let's use this to say let's get it 300.
No,
Right?
300.
There we go. All right, so
Come
if
on,
you guys
guys.
are listening in, we're gonna
Challenge.
we're gonna tag you in this post so that you can contact Zori and donate some gloves for her. And then maybe what we can do is really interesting. Is maybe we can have like some kind of summer program. So because I'm sure they're gonna need different things in the summer that they will in the
Right.
winter.
Yeah. And my hope is to eventually make it a true nonprofit. So then, because the possibilities are endless. We can do so much more than just gloves. Because obviously in the summer we're not going to find gloves. So there's
It'd be
probably
interesting
other
to take
things
all
we
those
can do.
images of gloves that you've been collecting and like do a gallery one day. Just do like a gallery to raise awareness. And then
Yeah,
raise
because at
money.
the end it represents the silhouette, you
Yeah.
know, of the hands
And people will buy the
symbolism
prints.
behind it.
Mhm.
Yeah, people will buy the prints and the
Ties
money,
into
all of it
purpose.
goes to charity.
Yeah, that would be
I
really
love that
nice. That's a
idea.
really good idea.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is great. I mean,
Yeah,
you
that
could
is a really
So
good idea.
cheers,
Yeah.
awesome
canvas,
moms from
you could
Nohu.
sculptures, you could
Giving
collect-
back.
Who knows?
Yeah, Zori and I, I mean, I'm not making an assumption now, but we were raised really modestly. Like, we were not rich, we were not necessarily super poor either, but we didn't necessarily have a lot of money growing up, and this area is not known to be a super rich area, and yet, like, look at her, she's giving back. Look at us, we're all giving back. You know, that's what it's like to have social solidarity, and that's a really big topic that we should focus on. As this mission, you know, social solidarity is what makes community strong,
I love that.
they're doing things like this that give back. It's such a good feeling, and it inspires other people, and that's what we should be doing. Just doing things that inspire people.
Absolutely, we want to be that example. Hopefully, we can encourage and motivate, inspire other people in other communities to do the same.
Exactly.
I know
We can
we're
have conversations together.
coming close on time, but I think that's a good segue into the last piece that
Yes,
we hit.
let's
So,
please talk about that.
So, Nohu has come under contention as a name that signifies gentrification in the community.
Yeah, the hipsters are coming to
The
take over.
hipsters
Raise
are
the
coming.
rent.
The beanies are here.
Oh.
So
tattooed.
let's talk about that, right?
Tattoo.
I personally think, just looking at the community and hearing about some of the history and seeing the great new businesses that are coming in, is there is a movement of a newer group of people coming in, bringing new business, and that strikes fear into some people who have been here for a long time and are concerned that their rent's going to go up, and they're concerned that all these different things are going to change. And my initial feeling and reaction to that is change happens, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
It's inevitable. If there's one thing that's constant, is change.
But the key piece is we want to be a part of that change, but we don't want it to be forcing people out.
Exactly.
We're seeing
No,
things
Because we're
priced
from
out of the
here.
community.
We don't want to see them leave.
Nobody wins in that scenario.
I want
Exactly.
to stay here.
You know, so
Yeah.
So do I.
And you want to be able to
Anywhere.
afford living here. It's a
Yeah.
big problem. And honestly, there's very little that we can do to stop market forces. We live in a capitalist country. You know, unfortunately, prices are just going to keep going up and up and up. And there's really not a lot of rules around that to help protect poor people. You know, there are affordable housing programs. The state does force new developments at times to have a certain amount of affordable housing, but compared to the amount of demand for affordable housing, it's not enough. There just really isn't enough going on. And yes, that is a real problem, but you can't blame, you know, people who are trying to revitalize the community and create a renewed sense of identity and pride to rising rents.
Okay, but let's also take a minute to acknowledge where that fear and anger and confusion might be coming from, because
100%.
Yeah.
right, because the
It's-
whole changing of the name, it's kind of like it's that it's that last
Like revisionist or
right,
something.
it's taking away the identity of the neighborhood. If you really think about it, imagine someone changed your name or didn't call you by your name.
That's completely fair.
Right.
And
Right,
I
but
found
it's
it,
part
right?
of gentrification culture, unfortunately. But that doesn't necessarily mean that because we've, this name is not even coined by us, but this name that has been created to, bring all the areas together. That doesn't mean that that's what the reason behind the change of the name.
I think one of the
So.
important pieces is that we're acknowledging that this exists and that our perception might be as such, but we're taking steps. We've been speaking with an economist that is working on a project that might be able to combat these trends.
Yep.
And we're talking with people and innovators in the blockchain space and the real estate space who have visions of how we can proactively address this. So we have plans that we're trying to make happen. We're not sure on the direction it might go, but we're aware. I just want people to know we're not blind.
Absolutely.
We're not deaf to the complaints.
No. Absolutely, and it's not an easy problem. It's a problem that's happening all over the country. It's very unfortunate, but I'll tell you the difference between what we're doing and what we've seen other people doing that really does affect the market. There was a New York Times article that was talking about Union City and said, oh, it's so cheap to live in Union City. Move to Union City, it's so cheap. And that's clearly a real estate driven thing that's getting people from New York and other places to be like, oh, yeah, that's true. I never even thought about it. I thought Jersey was always like this armpit of America. Nobody, for a long time, like that's what a lot of people in our community feel. Like they want to be this secret. They want to be this like hidden gem, which is beautiful, and I love that idea. I just feel like we should be celebrating because honestly, like when you look up our area, there's just not a lot of information in it. So I want to be celebrating our area. I still want to be this hidden gem, but I also want to celebrate our area. But articles like this New York Times article is exactly the kind of thing that would inflate prices because you are publicizing that this area is cheaper. We've never said that. We've never encouraged to move here because it's cheaper. All we're saying is we're awesome and we're celebrating ourselves. That's it.
Yes, that's it.
That's Nohu Collective right there. We're just saying,
and it just so happens
we're all
that
awesome.
It's cheaper.
It just happens that we're cheaper. Yeah, whatever. Which is why I think one of the things that we should talk about next week with The Economist is how to encourage more home ownership. Like how do we make home ownership accessible for a lot of people, especially people who grew up poor, like myself. Like I never ever imagined owning a house. If it wasn't for my partner who was like so committed and driven to buying a house, I would have been like, no, this is an impossible dream. But because he was so because he saw it as a real possibility, because he really laid out the path where it's like, yes, we can do this. I was like, okay, yeah, I think we can do this. Let's do it. And that's what a lot of couples need to be doing. They need to just be saying, yes, we can. Yes, we can own a house, and this is how we do it. Like we have a lot of federal and state programs that help people own a house, and that's exactly the kind of thing that makes a real community too. Because part of the characteristic of our neighborhood here in Nohu is that it's very transient. It's like a bedroom community. Everybody just lives here to sleep here and then work in New York, come back, live and spend all their money in New York City when they could be doing it here, helping the local economy, supporting the local businesses. And a lot of times they won't do that because they don't know how cool it is to be here, because they don't know that there's places like Parker Cafe or Espresso.
I'm making more of an effort in my own life to, stay here more weekends because I have a lot of friends in New York and I'm always going. I love New York, but I'm making a conscious effort to stay here and spend time here because there's so many amazing things to do. Of course, it would be silly for us not to.
We should be the change that we want to see. Let's just end it at that. But yeah, we're out of time. We wish we could talk forever because there's literally so much to talk about. Maybe one day Zoraida can come back as a guest for sure. Because I would love to also talk about education in schools, and we didn't get to talk about that.
Right.
Which is a very important topic for families here. But thank you so much for coming, and happy Mother's Day. Thank you for spending your time.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's very special for us that you came today, because today's it's a special day for moms, and you went and gave us an hour of your time, which is very nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It was really nice to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Alright guys, join us again next Sunday, again around 12 o'clock. We'll do our next show, and we're just keeping it cool, keeping it cash, and
keeping it real.
Keeping it real. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.